Dirk, you are a theologian, but very appreciative of science. And so when you look at the concept of human beings, one of the questions we ask are, what are persons? What does it take for something alive, to be a person? What is personhood?
First of all, one has to state that people are not persons, but become persons, develop a personality, develop an identity. And I find that process very interesting, and I find very interesting what science finds out, how this process comes about, how that takes place. And evolutionary anthropology has found out that human beings develop a personality by being brought up and embedded in a social environment. Some speak of the joint attention that is the first step. If you try to teach a primate, a higher ape, this gesture of pointing to something, he will never understand. No ape is able to understand that you try to communicate something, point to something, and that this is a communicative signal. But little infants immediately get that, and they try to raise the attention of their mother, for example, and guide it into a certain direction. And some call that joint attention and shared intentionality that arises out of that. And I think that is the process that makes human beings persons, that others refer to me as an individual, that we share attention and intentionality, and in the end language that makes that very flexible, and that we develop a sense of that is me, these are the others, that is how we do it, this is how I do not want to do it, and always people will refer to me as, why have you done that, and so on. And through this process, I develop my personality and my personal identity.
So with that child, that infant, who can point and understand pointing, and no higher primate can ever learn that, what do you infer from that about the uniqueness of human beings, or the difference between human beings and animals?
Human beings are naturally cultural animals. It is their nature to develop culture and to develop symbols, language, means of interaction and communication. And only in that process, something like personal identity in the full sense of the word can develop. That makes human beings, in a sense, unique. I wouldn't say that devaluates animals. I do not want to say there's a strict cut. I would rather say nearly all characteristics of human beings you will also find in the animal world, in rudimentary forms. But this complex thing of personal identity with which we refer to each other, we give names to each other. We say, why did you do that? Why did you not do this? Can you help me with that? And so on. We developed a culture of referring to each other as personal and as persons, and that is something that is really unique.
But as a theologian, you do not conclude from that there is something non-natural, something supernatural, something spiritual, some soul-like entity that enables such personhood for human beings. That's not necessary, correct?
That's not necessary, but what human beings succeeded in doing was to reach a certain level of reality where morality, where responsibility, where goodness in a moral sense comes into play. And so this is not just a, so to say, a formal, structural observation, but it has a deeper meaning. It has the meaning that we human beings are not beings, persons from the beginning, but we develop that, and with that we develop responsibility for our own identity. So a cow is always a cow, but a human being can be inhuman, can fail developing his or her humanity in a full sense.
For human beings to have this capability, what does that say about ultimate purpose or meaning, or the relationship between human beings and God, if there is a God?
Yeah, I would say it is exactly on this level that God interferes and relates to human life and reality. Think of the Ten Commandments in the Old Testament, in the Bible, where God would say, I am the one God, and from that certain, let me say, characteristics of joint intentionality, of shared intentionality have to arise. What love means, what morality means, what doing each other good means is something that is referring to this level. And I would say that God, in a sense, fosters this process of human beings referring to each other as responsible beings. And if you think of the idea of human beings as the children of God, and God as the Father, which is a central theological notion of Christianity, then it refers exactly to that. We, as a community, are also referring to our Father in heaven as someone who is addressing us, who is saying, you are my child. Or, the prophet Isaiah said, God has spoken to me and has addressed me by my name. He knows me from the very beginning. He knows where I'm going to. And so this process of interhuman development of personality is embedded, in my view, in God referring to human reality and empowering and encouraging human beings to become responsible persons.